제23회 전주국제영화제를 찾아주신 관객 여러분 반갑습니다. 저는 전주국제영화제 프로그래머 문성경입니다. 전주국제영화제는 매년 마스터즈라는 섹션을 통해서 거장의 신작을 소개하고 있습니다. 그리고 그 중에 한 분을 모셔가지고 저희가 그 감독님의 신작을 조금 더 깊이 있게 파보고 또 작품 세계를 더욱더 공부해보는 시간을 가지고 있는데요. 올해 마스터 클래스의 주인공은 세르히 로즈니차 감독입니다. 로즈니차 감독은 1964년 벨라루스에서 태어났습니다. 당시만 해도 그 벨라루스라는 지역이 구소련에 해당되는 곳이었고 이제 부모님을 따라서 유년기에 현재 우크라이나에 속하는 키이우시로 이동을 하게 됩니다. 그곳에서 고등학교를 졸업하고 또 대학을 가면서 당시만 해도 예술과는 전혀 상관없는 공부와 일을 하고 지냈죠. 그러다가 1991년 감독님이 모스크바에 있는 영화학교를 입학하게 되면서 그때부터 영화와 인연이 시작됩니다. 97년 졸업을 하면서 조금 더 왕성한 작품 활동을 시작하는데요. 다큐멘터리로 경력을 시작하긴 했지만 또 극영화에서도 충분히 그 실력과 재능을 입증받은 바 있습니다. 로즈니차 감독님의 작품 스타일을 만약 한 단어로 표현을 한다면 정치라는 단어를 꼽을 수 있을 것 같습니다. 조금 더 길게 표현한다면 정치의 존재라고 할 수 있을 텐데요. 현재든 과거든 그것과 관계없이 우리 삶과 역사 속에 있었던 정치의 역학관계를 감독님은 작품 속에서 우려내고 충분히 녹여내서 저희에게 질문을 던지고 있습니다. 특히 다큐멘터리 같은 경우는 아카이빙 이미지를 통해서 과거의 역사적 현장으로 저희를 데려가고요. 또 관객들에게 현재의 시점에서 우리가 왜 그 영화를 봐야 하는지에 대한 질문을 던지기도 합니다. 그간 전주국제영화제가 세르히 로즈니차 감독님의 많은 작품을 꾸준히 초청을 해왔는데요. 올해는 신작 2편을 소개하려고 합니다. 바비야르 협곡과 미스터 란즈베르기스 두 작품인데요. 둘 다 정치와 역사에 관련된 다큐멘터리입니다. 현재 러시아의 우크라이나 침공으로 인해서 전 세계가 걱정의 눈으로 바라보고 있는데요. 특히 로즈니차 감독의 지난 작품 돈바스라던가 그 우크라이나 지역에 관련된 많은 작품들의 관심이 다시금 쏠리고 있습니다. 또한 그의 정치적 발언과 행보 또한 논쟁의 중심점에 있는데요. 이러한 시점에 전주국제영화제가 감독님의 작품을 초청할 수 있고 또 감독님의 언어를 통해서 직접 마스터 클래스에서 그의 예술적, 정치적 이야기를 들어볼 수 있다는 점에서 굉장히 소중한 기회라고 생각을 합니다. 그럼 여러분들이 많이 기다리셨을 마스터 클래스를 본격적으로 진행하겠습니다.
네, 안녕하세요. 제23회 전주국제영화제 마스터스 섹션의 오늘 그 초대 손님은 바로 세르히 로즈니차 감독님이십니다. 올해 전주국제영화제에서 2편의 신작을 공개하게 됐는데요. 그중에서 바비야르 협곡 상영 후에 진행되는 마스터 클래스입니다. 먼저 감독님, 전주국제영화제 관객분들께 인사 말씀 부탁드리겠습니다.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
감독님 지금 어디 계세요?
I am in Vilnius. It is Europe, Lithuania, and I work on the sound of my film, which named the Natural History of Destruction.
먼저 올해 그 신작 2편과 관련해서 중심으로 여쭤보고 또 전반적으로 감독님께서 어떤 방식으로 영화를 만들고 계시는지 방법론에 대해서도 좀 주의 있게 듣고 싶습니다. 또한 감독님이 갖고 있는 어떤 영화적 관심사에 대해서도 두루 좀 청해 듣는 시간이 될 것 같습니다. 감독님께 어떻게 영화를 만드는가 일종의 방법론에 대한 질문을 드려야 될 것 같은데요. 그와 함께 감독님께 여쭤봐야 될 것은 감독님이 생각하시는 이 아카이브 푸티지라는 것은 도대체 무엇인가, 어떤 그 역할과 쓰임을 좀 기대하기에 감독님 영화에 아주 중요한 방법론으로 들어와 있는가에 대해서도 같이 좀 여쭤보고 싶습니다.
Okay, this film, BABI YAR, feature film. When I thinking about this film, I want to first of all, I want to include in this film archive also. and some episodes from archive footage I would like to edit and include, or sometimes edit the archive footage and non-archive footage, the footage which we will shoot. And to make this film and to shoot this film in the way how it was shot in this time, and to make this new material which looks like archive footage. This is the aim, just to have a different kind of type of footage and to use it like one unit, one unity, one source. And this is a kind of experiment. Is it possible to shoot in a way how it was shot many years ago? And for that, I already prepared some episodes from archive footage already. And when I received this proposition to make an installation for Memorial, I start to edit step by step, episode by episode, and my idea was to have each episode like a finished piece of thought. Finished thought about something, like each episode has beginning, development, and end, and each episode dedicate to particular place or particular event. So, and it is funny that the first episode which we edited, it was an episode which I used in the end of the film. It's the last episode of the film. So I don't know, because in same time when we find footage, we edit episode by episode. And I, from the beginning, when I started to work on this film, I didn't I don't know the whole structure. And whole structure for me appears step by step. And during the editing, when I made episode by episode, like a poetry, when I touch this topic, I have to touch the topic opposite topic. And when, for example, I made an episode how Germans enter to Lvov, and I thinking how to find and make maybe episode when Soviet troops enter and occupied Lvov, like a kind of symmetry which exists in this film, and tell us about the meanings, about the relationship between crowds, power, army, and during this time, and reaction, and etc., etc. It tells us about some deep things, and in this way I just collect these episodes. I made more than you can see in the film. I made more, 5, 6, 7 episodes more. I didn't use it, but I collect these all episodes, and till the moment when I find this text in film. I use one episode. It's just a text which you can read from the screen. It's very important text. It's a part of essay of the Vasily Grossman, the writer, the Soviet writer, with Jewish roots, and his mother was killed in Ukraine during Second World War, because she was a Jewish and was killed in during this Holocaust, and he wrote the very important text which defined what happened in Ukraine with Jewish nation. And when I find this text, I decide to use this text as a central element of architecture of this film. And it's a kind of column in this film, which keep the whole structure. And from this point of view, the story of Holocaust is finishing in this film in the middle. The story as we relive or live during the film through this story is finishing in 1 hour 5 minutes of the film, and after that the second part of this film, it's just reflection of this story in different moments, and even during the Kiev trial, which happened after the war in 1946, when the people gave the evidence about Holocaust. So this is a whole structure, and the last episode telling us about what happened after that, how they just destroyed our memory about this chronocide, when on the place where it was a ravine, they just built a new buildings, and they just covered this place with a dust, with the ground. So this is a whole film as a dramaturgical construction on my point.
감독님께서 하셨던 이야기들 중에 좀 인상적이었던 게 일종의 나의 다큐멘터리 영화는 보여주기를 위한 것이다라는 이야기를 하셨어요. 그러니까 어떤 과거의 역사를 다시 한번 설명하는 것. 그래서 거기 어떤 답을 제시하려고 하기보다는 오히려 질문하는 자로서의 역할 중요시 여기시면서 과거에 도대체 무슨 일이 있었는가를 현재 관객들에게 보여주고 싶다. 그래서 그것을 마치 피부로 느끼는 것처럼, 마치 내 피부를 감각하게끔 하는 것처럼 내 영화를 좀 보여주면서 다시 질문을 하게끔 하는 것이 나의 어떤 영화의 역할이 아닌가라는 그런 류의 이제 이야기를 하신 적이 있는데요. 이 보여주기라는 것이 굉장히 좀 의미심장하게 들렸습니다. 이와 관련해서는 또 조금 있다가 어떤 구체적인 장면을 두고 좀 여쭤보고 싶은데요. 감독님이 생각하는 이런 아카이브 푸티지를 통한 작업이 보여준다, 보여주는 것으로서 현재 관객들에게 뭔가를 느끼게 한다. 아까 어떤 이모션이라고도 말씀을 하셨습니다. 이런 것이 어떤 메커니즘으로 가능한 것인지를 좀 여쭤보고 싶어요.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I want to create all what's it possible to create in cinema for audience to live through all these circumstances which they observe, and to live through this situation, and to have this illusion that they are inside this evidence, inside these events. So in order to achieve that, we clean all this archive footage. I didn't use this voiceover, which explain us and protect us from what happened, because always it's like a god in documentary. They lead us through history and proposed us some concept of this history, and we already have two possibilities with voiceover: to agree or to disagree. maybe discuss with, agree with part. So 3 possibilities. In my case, when I make a film, I would like propose for spectator to watch and thinking and made their own opinion about that. In real life, we also observe a world around us. We don't know everything. We just have seen what we can see, and we made our opinion also about world through our experience. And this is what I would like to present to spectators. Experience to be in this war, in these circumstances, as a Jewish people were in this time in front of this tragedy. So, and maximum what I can do for create this illusion, I try to do. This why we use the sound which not destroyed this illusion, sound which fit to what you can see and what you can hear in this moment. And we stabilized picture and clean this picture and make this picture close to the what some recent cameras can do. So, and these all tools I use just for that purpose, because cinema is illusion, and our acceptation of this illusion is also moving our, feeling also move in time with cinema development. So now we can work with small pieces of this image. And take it out from the dark or put it into the dark and create also image, perfect image. So, and of course we use and I will use everything. And I predict in future, or even now exists this way how to recreate images, how to create images and recreate history in such a way. So, and using part of images, it is another world. We didn't speak in this direction when we thinking about, we didn't speak about the truth, historical truth, and etc., etc. We speak about our possibility and another space which we open for making films, because in general, okay, it's based on history and based on historical fact, but it is a film. And it is act of creation. It is not of course, it is a film about historical fact, let's say, like Odyssey. It is a, the great, great book, but it is a great literature about historical, mythological fact, And we didn't ask Gomer, is it true what he's saying in his Iliad, for example, or Odyssey? It is strange to ask. Yes, of course, it was a Troya exists. Of course, the war, Trojan War happened. Yes, and but it is also poetry. It's a literature. So, and I propose to accept also cinema as this kind of piece of art, because exists another people, another job and another task to create history, to describe history. It is historians who do it. And they did it, historians, and we have a completely different direction and different aim. So I create piece of art, and historians created what happened to the book, or I don't know what else about what happened, like Herodotus. So.
네. 감독님의 정말 마스터 클래스를 듣고 있다는 생각이 절로 듭니다. 뭔가 이게 기술력, 영화가 반드시 생각을 해야 되는 어떤 기술의 부분과 동시에 아주 고전적인 영화의 의미, 그리고 영화를 넘어서 어떤 문학의 영역까지 아우르는 어떤 도대체 역사란 무엇인가, 그 역사를 어떻게 다시 발견하고 그것을 구성할 것인가의 문제에 대해서 감독님께서 이 답변안에 좀 녹여주신 것 같아서 굉장히 잘 들었습니다. 감독님께서 사운드 디자인 관련돼서도 잠깐 이제 언급을 해주셨는데요. 워낙 아카이브 푸티지를 서치하고 그것을 편집하는 것도 중요하지만 그것 못지않게 사운드를 어떻게 만들어낼 것이냐. 폴리 작업을 통해서 혹은 더빙을 통해서 어떤 방식으로 이 사운드스케이프를 더 확장하고 그 깊이감을 더 가져갈 것이냐의 문제가 굉장히 중요한 부분인 것 같아요. 이번 영화에서도 그러한 아주 중요한 순간들이 있는데요. 대표적으로 이제 유대인 학살 현장, 그리고 그곳의 어떤 시신들을 보는 사람들이 그 시신에 묻어있는 이제 흙더미들을 떨구기 위해서 이제 빗자루질을 하는 그런 장면의 경우에는 굉장히 공들여서 사운드 작업을 하신 걸로 알고 있습니다. 아마도 앞서 말씀하신 어떤 보여주기, 그걸 통한 어떤 관객들이 그 현장을 다시금 느끼게 하고 생각하게끔 하는 데 있어서 사운드 작업이 굉장히 중요하게 들어가 있는데요. 감독님께서 이 부분에 대해서 이번 작품에서 조금 더 유심히 관객들이 좀 더 눈여겨서 봐주고 들어봐줬으면 하는 장면이 있다면 좀 들어보고 싶습니다.
So yes, as you say, you're absolutely right. Sound is very important for me, for my films, and we normally work on the sound 3-4 months in order to create, to find the right sound for each episode. And I work on sound with the same sound director already 20 years. With one sound director, he's sound designer, his name Vladimir Golovnitsky. And I'm now in Vilnius because we work on the sound, and he used to live in Vilnius. And after our conversation, I just will go to work. So, and we, thanks God, I met him in 2002. And it was a moment when for my ideas, I'm looking sound designer who can make the things which I create in my imagination. And without his professionalism and his creating possibilities, I can't make my films like Blockade, like Factory, and even the film which named Review, and etc. etc. And when I thinking about film, I already think about sound, what kind of sound will be in each episode. And also I thinking about the intensivity of this sound, how intensive it will be. It is a silence, for example, or like in this episode which you mentioned, episode which was made from photo, which was shot exactly before one of the execution. we can see the photo of the people who will be executed, and they wait this execution. The Jewish people, they wait execution, and we can see the faces of that people. And of course, I can't use any sound for this episode, which will then like natural sound, like the sound which will fit to this real life. It's immediately exclude our imagination and destroy it. This is a photo. It is also exist in time as a moment, and it is also kind of abstract element, which if we compare this with imitation of life, which video proposed us. The photo is more abstract, and and this why, of course, it was no doubt that it must be a silence, but silence also sounded somehow. And for this silence, we try to find the proper sound which will not destroy our illusion and not destroy our attention when we observe this picture and get us the right feeling. I don't know how to define this feeling. Maybe word right is not good, but I didn't know now the proper feeling which you as a spectator you get. And this sound which we tried the different kind of winds, like and wind exists, this sound which we find, it's a sound of the leaves, like the branches and leaves shaking a little bit, and we create these high frequencies which touch our soul. This is this kind of working with our sensibility. And it's very tender, very delicate touching. So, and inside this fragment, also it must be a development of that sound. It's a dramaturgy of that wind. Maybe some dogs are biking far away in some moment, and these branches. More and less active. I think this is more compositing than just sound making. And it looks like a music composition from the sound. And absolutely fan of John Cage, who said that everything what sounded, it's a music. So everything what we can hear is a music, and from all this music we try to create harmony. Doesn't matter if the topic is very disharmonic and horrible. It must be a harmony which exists inside this like piece of film, or this episode. And each episode and sound for whole film was constructed like that. In some places it's very intensive, like I have an episode with a lot of against the sound of the weapon and planes, and I just represent war, what it is. It is a fighting, and after that a lot of dead bodies and a lot of destroying military vehicles and a lot of prisoners of war. That's all. This is what you want to know about any war, and you get it. 3 minutes, it's enough to understand. that different group of they fight with each other, and after that, part of them become prisoners and part was killed, and that's all. And it's not interesting at all, but I have to say, I have to show it to just to get this image and emotion from all of that. I have this also element in my film. Some sound, for example, was recorded during this time in my, which I used in my film. Even this sync of the witnesses which gave their evidence during the trial. It was recorded, and but you can imagine that it was recorded like 75 years ago, and the quality of this sound is not such a good. And we clean, of course, we clean. We use different technique for cleaning, different programs for cleaning and reconstruction, but some voices we can't reconstruct, and the one guy who gave his evidence close to BABI YAR, the guy who was escaped from this BABI YAR, and he was a part of command which destroyed the bodies and fired the bodies in 1943. And he saying text, we just have this text, and we dub his voice with the actors, and very talented actor. And after we get this this dubbing, also destroyed a little bit the sound to make it fit to the sound which was recorded. You know, make it even a little bit worse because I would like create this illusion and not to destroy our trusting. When we watch, we trust this, and the recent mic give us the very clean, clear and very deep sound. And the sound from that time is, you know, not such a well recorded with the microphones which existed. And we just developed this clear, good sound to the sound which you can hear from this after this mic. Also, we did this, and time from time, I use some actors. Even for this film, we use some actors, not actors, just voices. People who say something because in this image somebody is saying something. German voices, Russian voices, Ukrainian voices, and etc. So this is how we work.
감독님께 이 장면을 좀 여쭤봐야 될 것 같은데요. 바비야르 협곡에서 그 학살의 장면, 학살의 현장이라고 해야 되겠네요. 그 바비야르 협곡의 어떤 모습을 굉장히 생생하게 보여주는 쇼트들이 있습니다. 그 어떤 반쯤 묻혀있는 시체라든지 아니면 남겨진 신발, 뭐 생명을 잃은 어떤 손, 그 의수라든지 이런 것들이 굉장히 생생하게 펼쳐지는 아카이브 자료들이 보이고요. 또 하나는 이제 공개 처형의 현장을 담은 또 쇼트들입니다. 사실 이와 관련돼서는 감독님 어떤 선택이 분명 있을 거라고 보여지는데요. 이런 장면들을 과연 볼 수 있는가? 어떻게 보면 영화의 어떤 윤리적인 질문이기도 할 테고 좀 더 거슬러 올라간다면 이제 클로드 란츠만 감독이 만들었던 쇼와라는 그 다큐멘터리를 둘러싸고 영화사에 아주 중요한 어떤 논쟁이 있었던 것을 기억을 합니다. 그 아우슈비츠 학살의 현장을 과연 우리가 다시 보여주는 데 있어서 기존의 아카이브 자료를 활용할 것인가, 활용할 수 없는가, 그리고 그것을 활용하지 않는다는 것은 얼마나 또 무책임한 일인가에 대한 어떤 란츠만과 장리 고다르의 어떤 논쟁까지도 좀 떠올리게 하는 그런 장면이었습니다. 감독님께서는 굉장히 생생한 자료들을 충분히 활용을 하고 보여주는 그 방식을 선택하셨는데요. 여기에 대한 감독님의 좀 입장과 생각을 들어보고 싶습니다.
Okay. Just to answer on this, of course, the common rule I think does not exist in art. What to show, what not to show, and even in cinema, every director he made his own decision, because the most important, I think, how this footage I use in the film, and what kind of emotion and thought create, for which purpose I use this footage. And for example, exists one example for me, one execution, real execution, was shot, maybe more, but it is known footage, well known, and so far exists only one this kind of footage. It is a German soldier. He shot execution of Jewish people in Liepaja in Latvia in 1941. And if you just watch this footage, you get the very deep impression. For me, the most impressive in the in episode which you mentioned, the public execution in Kiev in 1946, 75 years ago, was the last public execution in my native city. 75, just 75. My mother just remember that, you know. My parents remember that. they were a child, but they remember. And the most impressive that so many people came in this act and to watch. It is they participate in this act of revenge and amoralization, demoralization. They demoralize because they just observe how state after the decision to kill people. So, and which is important for me to show it, and of course I use the all tool which exist in my hands to just to show it as possible carefully. And of course, I remove all these shots which are like close up or something like close to that. These shots also exist in the footage. And in general, for BABI YAR film, also I prepare spectator. I prepare spectator for watching what some horrible images to prepare during the film. I prepare that because I cannot avoid it. Is kind of about what we talk. It is we have in some moment get it and be impressed, but of course the most difficult and most impressive images which exclude us from this film. It is also can happen when you watch something and asking why I just watching film, why what is a piece of why it is such a horrible that I'm out of that. I don't want to think even about any this dramaturgy, or we have this kind of limitation any creative process because what we show me is so horrible and so impact me, and I'm not with you already. This is also important to think about that. For example, the most attractive and horrible images, it is images which show the part of human body. It's impossible to watch, and of course, during the war, you have a lot of this kind of footage. So, and so in general, I made this decision for each episode and for each shot all the time. And for me, of course, was difficult to edit, for example, the episode with a pogrom in Lvov. It was very difficult to edit this episode, emotionally difficult, and I just postponed and I made this episode myself. I edit myself, and I made it during 2 months. Just edit something and forget it and come back and etc. etc. So this is what I show in my film. It is less horrible than life, and it is absolutely it is a very delicate way to express, but I always thinking about Jericho, this French painter who paint after revolution in France in the beginning of 19th century, the cutting head. It's a very famous his picture where you have some place where collected after guillotine the head, or human head after cutting. I think this act of art was also shocking for spectators in that time. Goya, for example, you remember this shooting, the paint of the shooting, where we can see Toledo, we can see some church far away, and the people who staying in near wall, and the people who shoot them, and moment when they shot. Also, of course, it's another way how to express this horror, but it is very deep and strong. Guernica by Picasso. If you have seen it in life in the Reia Sofia Museum in Madrid, I have seen it. It is so impressive. Even more impressive than you just show the real image. So it is a different way how to express that, but in film we have what we have. We have footage. So, and this decision is always on the side of the director, what to use and what not.
바비야르 협곡에 관해서 한참 이야기를 나누는데요. 이번 전주국제 영화제에서 감독님의 또 다른 영화가 있습니다. 상영을 하고 있습니다. 바로 미스터 란즈베르기스라는 또 아주 중요한 다큐멘터리인데요. 이것에 관해서는 아주 짧게 좀 여쭤봐야 될 것 같습니다. 앞서서 그 감독님께서 작업하셨던 아카이브 푸티지 활용을 했다라는 점에서는 이 작품 역시도 동일하지만 조금 다르게 그 굉장히 중요한 어떤 중심 인물 란즈베르기스라는 정치인이 이 다큐멘터리 어떤 중심에 있다라는 점에서는 조금 이례적인 것 같습니다. 워낙 그 감독님께서 그 어떻게 보면은 개인의 초상들을 모아서 그 군중 혹은 어떤 아주 집단적인 사람들의 이야기로 확장해 나가는 방식을 많이 보여주셨기 때문에 그런 면에서 이 미스터 란즈베르기스 역시도 일맥상통하지만 뭐랄까요, 이 중심 화자라고 할 수 있는 인물이 딱 있다라는 점에서는 감독님 작품에서 조금 새로운 선택을 하신 게 아닌가라는 생각이 좀 들었습니다. 더불어서 그 앞서 감독님께서 그 나레이션이라든지 보이스오버의 사용을 굉장히 지향한다라고 하셨는데 이 영화에서는 물론 이제 그런 방식은 아니지만 감독님의 존재가 영화에 드러나는 아주 중요한 순간들이 있습니다. 바로 그 란즈베르기스의 어떤 질문하는 감독님의 목소리가 등장을 하는데요. 제가 기억하기로는 이런 방식이 굉장히 감독님 영화에서는 보기 드문 그 순간이었던 것 같습니다. 감독님께서 어떻게 이런 좀 기존의 작품의 어떤 방법들과 좀 다른 선택을 해야 되겠다라고 생각을 하셨는지에 대해서 좀 더 들어보고 싶습니다.
This is let's say second film about collapse of USSR. I made before film based on the archive footage which exists in St. Petersburg documentary film studio. The film named The Event. It is a film about coup d'etat in August 1991, and it is like film about so-called the revolution or protest against the coup in this time, and after this protest, the Soviet Union collapsed. And after this film, this film I made after a film which I shot in Ukraine during the protests against the former president of Ukraine, Yanukovych, and a film named Maidan. It is a film about the real revolution. And this is why I made a film about fake revolution in Soviet Union, because I saw the real revolution. And I continue this topic of the political history of Soviet Union, the last years of Soviet Union, because it's so important to understand what happened during this time. And in this history, one of the main role played Lithuania, the small country which was occupied in 1940 by Soviet troops. And this small nation is just 2.5 or 3 million Lithuanians lived in Soviet Union, which never forgive and which remember this occupation. And in the end of 80s, they start to fight for independence, and they as leaders and very, very talented, created, very how to say, smart people who lead nation to this independence, and they finally won in this confrontation with big Soviet Union. Soviet Union's in that moment, it was like 252 million people, and small Lithuania with without tanks, without soldiers, without army, only with some volunteers and with the will of nation, because it was like one nation was like one fist and one body, like Ukraine now, for example, fighting with whole Soviet secret services, army, administration, bureaucracy, economical influence, and Communist Party at top. So, and this is a lecture of history which we made together with the first Lithuanian president, Vytautas Landsbergis. And I think about this film when I met Vytautas Landsbergis and we became a friend. And we talk a lot about this history, and I ask myself, okay, why nobody shoot this smart guy who can explain everything in such a simple and understandable way. So what happened, because he was involved in all this political movement and in all decision on the high level of Soviet, political stage, and he personally has a kind of duel with Gorbachev, and he made such a decision and proposed such a way how to be in these circumstances and avoid the real war with a lot of blood and achieve the goal. And finally, everything what he promised, and when people elect them in parliament, the Soviets and this movement, which name it Soviets, they elect and they trust them. And when he was a chief of parliament, he promised that we will liberate country from this occupation army and from this Soviet Union, which we don't want to be a part of. And they did it. It's not often in history when somebody have this kind of aim and this kind of goal and succeed to manage that. And the most important in this film, of course, how it was made, how, the method, the way, and this, I think that when I made this film, I think it will be maybe useful for all these countries which are, for politicians from these all countries which are still under Soviet occupation in different way, and still under Soviet, Soviet, let's say Russian, because now it's the face of Soviet Union is the Russian Federation, yes, and this country is still under pressure of this Russian Federation. And as you know, it is a war now in Ukraine. It's too late to do something with political steps. It is a real war when Russia is aggression and came to Ukraine with the tanks, bombs, and all these weapons, and destroyed Ukraine cities and killed Ukraine citizens. So, but this history, I think, so recent and so important that I made it and invite Vytautas Landsbergis to be a part of film and tell this story to us, or comment this story, but from other side also I edit from archive episode by episode and also show the story from, like, let's say, objective point of view. What happened? Just to observe what happened with the people. And so it was my aim, and we have this 2 point in the film. And yes, I exist in this film, but not my image. I don't want to present myself. I just exist as in a dialogue, one of the person who participate in this dialogue. And in a moment when I just asking question, I exist as a voice. It was few times during this film. But it's not so important myself. Important what professor and first president of Lithuania, Mr. Landsbergis, is saying. So, and I strongly recommend to watch this film if you would like to understand the history of Soviet Union, who was and who is Mr. Gorbachev, who still keeps silence about this horrible attack of Vilnius in January 1991. So, welcome to cinema.
감독님 말씀대로 이번에 전주국제영화제에서 상영하는 이 2편의 영화를 우리가 잘 지켜본다면은 아마도 지금 현재 그 유럽에서 또 우크라이나를 비롯한 여러 국가들이 겪고 있는 어떤 전쟁의 위기 그리고 현실 정치의 어떤 상황들을 다시금 좀 생각해 볼 수 있는 그리고 어떤 역사적인 현장까지도 되짚어 생각해 볼 수 있는 그런 기회가 아닌가라는 생각이 좀 들었습니다. 오늘 긴 시간 함께 해주셔서 정말 감사드리고요. 이제 마지막으로 현재 그 우크라이나 전쟁과 관련해서 감독님께서 굉장히 여러 채널을 통해서 이야기를 하셨던 걸로 알고 있어요. 지난 그 3월 19일에는 그 제가 알기로는 러시아의 영화인들을 지지했다라는 이유로 우크라이나 영화 아카데미로부터 회원 자격을 좀 박탈당했다 이런 기사도 좀 났었고요. 또 최근에 그 러시아의 우크라이나 침략에 관해서 유럽 영화 아카데미가 굉장히 미온적인 태도를 취한 것에 대해서 감독님께서 좀 맹비난을 하시면서 또 회원을 더 이상 회원 자격을 유지하지 않겠다라고 말씀하시기도 했습니다. 아까 처음에 그 물리적으로는 안전한 곳에 있다라고 짧게 답을 해주셨는데요. 지금 어떤 감독님께서 좀 지켜보고 있는 어떤 세계의 정세랄까요? 혹은 이것이 사실 감독님 영화 작업에 굉장히 깊숙이 또 중요한 부분이기 때문에 이후에 어떤 작업을 또 해 나가실지도 이 어떤 정세를 보는 감독님의 시선과 이어지는 부분이라는 생각이 좀 들었습니다. 여기에 대해서 짧게 말씀을 좀 부탁드리겠습니다.
So thank you very much, and I think that in till next edition of your festival, I will finish already 2 or maybe 3 more films. The one film which named Kiev Trial, I already finished, and I don't know where it will appear, but some festivals, I think in this summer, it will be in some festival, the first screening, premiere. And it is about trial of in Kiev, which happened in 1946. I find, thanks to this research, I find the absolutely treasure, the footage which was recorded and shot during this trial and against the Nazi criminals. And I made a film 1 hour 45 minutes about this. And this footage was never published. The only short part was using for film magazine. And it is kind of treasure, another treasure, which I find in Soviet archive in Moscow. Now I finished the film about the bombing of European cities, German cities and British cities during Second World War, about the idea of bombing and about this industry of bombing which is also the very difficult question, how to accept that, and is it possible to accept that, and which connect directly to the war which happened now in Ukraine, to the war which Russian Federation start against Ukraine, and to this war which very impossible to just imagine that this kind of war happened right now, with all this crime which the Russian soldiers did in Ukraine, and this war addressed against the civil population. And all this action, it's not action against the army and troops, it's action which they did, they bombed, they used rocket against the cities where, does not exist some hangars and some Ukraine troops where only buildings where people live, and they just destroyed in such a way, like total destruction, idea of total destruction, life, human, and transform Ukraine to desert. So this horror which they use and which we all observe, we have to reflect, and from where it came, and what kind of people can we say that this is a human, what kind of people do it now, what is a people, from where they are. And I think I will make a film about that. I don't know, because it's so fresh and so strong feeling and emotion now that we have to stay out, and I have to stay and think first of all and collect this all information and images. But I'm sure that I will make a film about. And of course, I was, if we are talking about European Film Academy, I was surprised that in the moment when the war started, and it was the second or third day of the war, in the moment when everybody understands that, and I've seen that the Kiev, my native city, and other cities was bombed, and the civil houses where civilian population lived, that was destroyed already when the brutal attack happened. I just read on the page, web page of this European Film Academy text about the growing conflict. They just didn't name this the war as a war. They didn't use the word war. They just saying it is a conflict on the east of Ukraine. The same cliche which the Russians and Russian propaganda use. They use cliche that it's a kind of conflict in between, I don't know, unknown people in the east of Ukraine. And I was, and reaction of that academy, this is a filmmakers. It must be a brave people. It's an academy. To be a filmmaker, you have to be brave and to saying true, and against to use this kind of imitation of truth, and this kind of word which avoid the topic, which somehow around this topic, but not saying truth. I cannot accept that. I was so angry and just right that, guys, what you are doing, why you must saying true to people, true. What happened? You must name the things how it name it in our language, but in language which you use, but you just kind of together with this Russian propaganda in your point of view and your opinion. So this is why I just address, because I wrote this letter and published that. I would like to shake them, because this horror happened in Europe, and it connects to all of us now, because all world observe what happened in Ukraine, and this dehumanization inside every spectator. This image dehumanizes us because we understand that exist the forces and armies and I don't know, NATO, which can fight with that and can stop it. But they didn't use these forces. They prefer to observe how the Russian missiles, Russian rockets destroyed Ukraine cities day by day, now more than 1 month. So how we can, you know, stay with that? It is very dangerous for psychology of psycho of all people. For it's a you know, psychological destruction for all the world, for all people who live in the world. So it is a psychoterrorism, I can say. So this is the first story. The second story, of course, I absolutely against that total boycott of any culture. How it's possible to boycott culture. I'm against to use culture as a political tool. It's an easy target. You can say, okay, let's forget Tchaikovsky, let's forget Dostoevsky, let's forget all Russian culture. But this is an easy target to remove these authors and composer and films from our program so far. Yes, remove this language. It is easy to do, easy things which they can do, but this is not a way at all. It's absolutely stupid action, and how it can help in the fighting with the Russian authorities. How Tchaikovsky and Dostoevsky connect to the Putin? It's you know, it's strange for me. It's stupid for me, and because thanks God they died. And they even didn't know what happened after in this Russian empire. And this question is so deep and so difficult, and this question don't have a simple answer. It is always like the Bolsheviks, they use the, or like communists, they use the simple answer to the complicated question. So, and now let's make a simple decision. It is a wrong decision, and my text was addressed against the boycott of the such Russian directors who you know, fight with the regime, who just accuse this regime in this war, and who protest against war. Why we have to just remove them from cinema stage? Why? They are honest people, and I'm against the total boycott. And the reaction of Ukraine Film Academy was very concrete. À la guerre comme à la guerre. Okay, this is a shame decision. This is a shame. For me, it's a shame. You know, okay, they show the face. Let's and I think they just discreditate themselves with all this decision. So because I just asking people to keep this common sense and to be a human, just to be human. Not come back to the forest and you know, remember our you know, biological history, where we all was bacteria in our deep past. We came from bacteria with the simple rules. We are human with a very complicated world, and we have to understand this world and still stay as a human. So, thank you very much.
네, 감독님 오늘 긴 시간 감사드립니다. 이상 마치겠습니다.
Thank you very much. Enjoy films. Just watching cinema, and we'll meet next year. I hope in Jeonju.
네, 저도 꼭 뵙고 싶습니다. 감사합니다.